Hello, Gov Seekers. What is up? What is up? Thank you for joining us at episode 136. I will be bringing Lee Camp on in a second because the Republican convention is on starting at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. There will be no Patreon bonus immediately following this episode as we normally do. So as soon as this episode's over at 6, we will be watching the Republican debate, and then I will be live with Ron Placone when the debates are over for a post-debate wrap-up. So please check that out. And now it's time for Government Secrets episode 136 with the two most censored comedians in the world, Lee Camp and Graham Elwood.
I gotta correct something you just said. You said after this is over, we're going to be watching the Republican debate. And I will not. I will be stabbing my eyes out before I watch the Republican debate.
So. Why would you want to miss the most train wrecky clown car that you could ever see? Like it's
because there's not even, you know what bugs me is you can't even, like, it's hard to even debate what they're saying because their points are about a world that doesn't exist. They're like, well, you know, in this country where you have a socialist president who's just giving away all the money to all the poor people. And you're like, I don't know how to argue with it's like if someone came up and was like, listen, motherfucker, you say you don't have any unicorns in your yard, but you have 32 unicorns in your yard. And like, where do you begin? Where do you begin?
Yeah, it is. That's what I love about it, because it's just like, what world are they living in? Joe Biden's socialism it's like, it's so hilarious that they're calling Joe Biden a socialist. I'm just like, he's a Reagan Republican. And at best, which makes him to the left of this new brand of sociopaths that they're trotting out in front of us. And it's so great because Trump's not even on the debate, and he's like head and shoulders above everybody in the polls. And so it's like, he's under indictment.
It's the best decision Trump's ever made.
He's like, so smart.
He's living in his own world, and it clashes with the imaginary world that they've created. And so he knows that him being up there, like arguing with them about their imaginary worlds, would just diminish him. So.
It's, I'm excited because I'm really hoping on this being, well, probably this will be our last presidential election as the United States stands.
Yeah. I'm excited for the last presidential election.
I don't know. The only thing as I've said from the jump on the only thing I have like true faith in is the labor movement in this country. And you know, the WGA just reached an agreement with the AMTPP, AMAT.
Yeah, I haven't read the details. Does it look good?
So from what I hear, they haven't. Unless something came out today, as of last night or this morning, there hadn't been. They hadn't released the strict details yet. It sounds like a good deal. Everybody that I've talked to within the WGA sounds like a good deal. SAG is not negotiating as of yet. They AMTP or whatever, they have not started negotiating with SAG. So SAG has sent out an email yesterday morning saying, we're still on strike. Here are the picket locations. We support what the WGA did, but we're still on strike. So I feel like it's still a couple weeks away for the whole thing to be done. But we're very close.
We got to get our fucking Marvel movies back, man.
I know.
We can't keep going without this.
I need another Sharknado is what that's what I need. So
you know what's nice is with each new episode of Sharknado, just completely different storyline.
Oh, they're fantastic.
All new, reinvented every time.
I've never seen a movie that is more ridiculous and so self-aware, like so aware at how ridiculous it is. I remember I was at Comic-Con in San Diego, I don't know, 6 years ago maybe, and San Diego Comic-Con is such a blast because the companies each year try to like they do all this like street team promotion, right? So one of the things they were having a protest, a fake protest in the streets walking down downtown San Diego. So it's packed. Every restaurant is packed. Everybody's sitting outside the convention center. So San Diego is just packed that week. I don't know what it's like now. But this is pre-COVID, obviously. And they were having a protest and they're like, what do we want? Sharks. Where do we want them? In tornadoes. Like that was and they just hired actors to go down the streets and protest with pickets.
I would like to point out that protest had as much impact as most of our present day protests, where it's just a guy with a sign. This is not striking workers. That's different because they're withholding their work. But your average climate march or something is you just walk down the street. You say, we would prefer that we not all die. And then you get to the end of the street and they go, okay, good job. And you walk home.
Yeah. This was the difference was these protesters were paid by the production company or whatever. That's
yeah.
And they had signs with like shark bites cut in them. It was just.
I loved Sharknado till, someone told me this. It's not a documentary, and I was
wait, what?
Pretty upset. Yeah.
Wait, they're not documentaries?
It's like a deep fake.
Yeah. Wait, I thought these were I thought this was like a real thing that was happening.
The sharks are little people in a suit.
But they're not in tornadoes, or they are in tornadoes.
I think they're in tornadoes, but it's like one in the studio, whipped up.
Oh boy, we should well, we know what our next government secrets is.
Yeah, we jumped the shark by revealing that one.
All right, I gotta go. I gotta take off, dude. I got something to take care of. Well, we have an action-packed episode.
What's the final conclusion? I feel like we're gonna get the final conclusion this week. Did we decide we're getting tax or there's no tax?
Okay, as of now, there are still no tax. There's the tape cam right there.
I love Graham's initial response. His facial response when I asked this question is like a boyfriend who's just been asked to clean the sink. Like, no, I didn't do it yet.
All right. Fine. Like I said I would do it.
But this tape seems to be holding much better than the last one.
That's my point. And
if you just listen to me just for a minute.
If I could not be attacked with this tact issue again, and part of the reason why there's still tape on the wall, Lee Camp, who really likes publicly attacking me, is I just moved. So I haven't quite, I don't know if this is going to be my permanent home for my podcast area in my apartment. So when I settle on that, then I will use your fancy tacks that you seem to be so obsessed with.
I feel like now it's going to be done out of spite. It's going to be like 900 tacks, staple gunned. It's going to be done out of anger.
I'm going to live stream me putting in the tacks just with a picture of you, a t-shirt with a line through it. Like, absolutely. That's how that's going to go down. Just.
Oh man. I'm just trying to make your life easier. This is done out of love.
And what's wrong with that? Is this?
I'm just saying tape betrayed you a few weeks ago. So it turned against you mid-show multiple times.
No, it's like you sound like, yeah, no, this is why I go to Al-Anon meetings. I just keep getting in bad relationships and I can't, I keep.
The bad relationship is with a roll of tape.
The roll of tape.
You're actually just really, you're really good. You're really frugal, and you're like, I can't do it till I use up the roll of tape. I can't. I can't use the tacks.
Yeah, it feels like a waste if I just put a half of a roll of blue painter's tape in a cabinet and not use the tacks
And then it'll be staring at me, judging me every day.
every day,
Every
saying, "Oh, so Lee Camp thinks he's better than I am." That's what the tape will be saying to me while I sleep.
As well it should.
This is right up there with Leafgate. This is worse than Leafgate.
Yeah, it's getting worse than Leafgate. The problem is with Leafgate, at least you had someone you could call on the phone and yell at. But
Well, Leafgate also was not my fault. Leafgate, somebody plowed into my car. And
this isn't your fault either. This is gravity.
exactly, I've been attacked. And I'm clearly the victim here. All right, which segment is
I can guarantee you mine will not be the funnier one.
all right, then let's do yours first because mine has some good old wacky the US Air Force, mishandled nukes over American soil fun.
Okay. For this one, because it's one of those that's just it's American truth. You got to get it out. It's like taking a shit. You got to get it out, even if it's not pleasant. We got to do it. But in order to make it funny this time, I have a miniature hat I'm gonna wear during the whole segment. No, I don't.
All right. Lee Camp segment number 1, miniature hat.
All right. So this is about California's native people, which you can assume up top probably treated great, right? California's native people, is from history.com, had a long and rich history. Hundreds of thousands of Native Americans speaking up to 80 languages populated the area for thousands of years. 80 languages shocks me because here in the United States of America, it's arguably one language spoken. It's like a half of one.
Barely
struggling to have, one or
struggling
two.
to get one, and then large portions of this country are like, I don't want to speak another one. Like they're happy. They don't like learning a second language like Spanish, which would just be good for commerce and neighborly relations, is like frowned upon by some people in this country.
It is horrifying. Yeah. They're willing to go to a wage slave job and be treated like shit all day. But if they have to push a 1 for English on the ATM, it drives them fucking nuts. In 1848, California became the property of the United States as one of the spoils of the Mexican-American War. So America stole California. Then in 1850, it became a state. For the state and federal government, it was imperative both to make room for new settlers. Yeah, there wasn't enough room, really. The largest state in the Union. Yeah. There wasn't enough space.
Kind of small.
And to lay claim to gold on traditional tribal lands. And settlers themselves, motivated by bigotry and fear of native peoples, were intent on removing the approximately 150,000 Native Americans who remained. And of course, that bigotry that had to be fostered by somebody, by people, fostered by the government, mainstream media, etc. It's not just like people don't just hate people without any kind of history or cultural reason to, or things like that. Here's a quote from the Daily Alta California in 1849, the newspaper. Whites are becoming impressed with the belief that's impressed used differently than we use it now, basically meaning aware. Whites are becoming aware with, impressed with the belief that it will be absolutely necessary to exterminate the savages before they can. This is in the newspaper. Don't you love a time where you could call other people savages in a newspaper and it was considered unbiased good writing?
The people whose this is their land. So these people who this is their land. And I like, and oh, by the way, oh yeah, they have gold on their land. That might be kind of a bury the lead.
Yeah, that might play a role. But yeah, they were, Graham, you can't deny it. They were savages long before we got here. They were just savaging the land. They just fucking destroy it.
working in harmony with it, just,
Yeah.
decades, if not centuries ahead in agriculture and stuff. Yeah, exactly. They were,
Doing just savage things like, like building a house for anyone who needed one, that kind of thing.
yeah, working in communal, yeah, growing food for the entire tribe, making sure nobody went hungry.
Yeah, that kind of shit. Even the dumbest guy in the tribe.
The dumbest-
The dumbest guy. He got some food. He might not have gotten as much as the others, but even the fucking idiot that they didn't even want around, even he got some food. I did a bit in my last stand-up special about like even the guy in the tribe who like didn't know how to make his own fur coat like everyone else, and it had like a just like a wolf vagina just left on the front, just didn't even think to just a big bushy wolf vagina right there on the front. Even that guy, they treated well.
Honey, where's my wolf vagina coat? Do you know where I put my? There's a bit, the temperature dropped last night. I just really want to wear my wolf vagina coat.
I've never made a fur coat. I don't know that anyone watching this has, but is that ever a thing where you accidentally, you try it on and someone's like, dude, you left an otter dick on the shoulder there. It's just right there, right there. Oh shit. Oh, I thought I got all of those. God damn it.
There's a sable butthole on the back. You probably can't see it.
Yeah, it's just sable.
If you look in a mirror, you can see it from the back.
Yeah.
It's really clear. It's like a.
And I don't know where we're already at the theater. I don't know where we're gonna get a pair of scissors at this point.
Maybe we should get you a scarf to just cover up, because it really looks like there's a walnut on your back, but it's actually a sable butthole.
Or you could bite it off. You probably just need to bite it off. That's kind of I mean, at this point, you're just you either have the otter dick on there or you got to bite it. But that can create a problem, because what if you find out midway through that it tastes great?
I know.
That's a real issue.
Sable butthole, I actually got that at a farmer's market the other day, and it was free range. It's really good.
It was right next to the kumquats. It was just a sable butthole, you can put it in a soup. You can make a sandwich.
The same guy that brings the sourdough bread. He brings it's a great.
Yeah, you've seen like at the Dunkin' Donuts, they sell like a cup of donut holes. This is a cup of sable buttholes. Yeah.
Folks, come for the historical government secrets and stay for the never-ending butthole riffs that this show has.
All right, moving on. So the Daily Alta, California said they needed to exterminate the savages before they can labor much longer in the mines with security. Yes, they just can't. They just don't feel secure until they commit genocide. You know how that is. You just don't feel good at home at night unless you've committed a genocide. They were assisted by the government. So yeah, that's the other thing you've got to realize here is, and I know some of this is common sense, but it bears repeating that it'd be one thing if people committed native genocide throughout this country, and it was just like rogue fucking racist vigilantes. This was like government policy. This was the government saying, we have to deal with the quote unquote Indian problem. And it was probably a big debate in the Oval Office as to whether to call it the fucking Indian problem.
Right.
Like they were withholding their true feelings.
And this is probably where the psychos that run this country and the CIA, this is probably what they call progress. Because now, as we've covered on the show, we don't, sometimes we do, but we don't directly do genocide anymore. We just kind of look a blind eye towards it, or give one side of the genocide, like we just talked about in East Timor, like last episode, of the one before that, like we just give them weapons and train them. We don't do it directly.
Right. Nowadays, it's more like bringing down governments and dropping bombs in Iraq, no matter who dies. It's less of we need to eliminate an entire peoples. But
yeah, we just don't come out and say it now to go, oh, these people are savages and they have resources we want, which is the real reason we don't like them. And now we just say, freedom, and we're supporting the rebel army or whatever that was like CIA propped up, funded.
Yeah. So they were assisted by the government, which considered the so-called Indian problem to be one of the biggest threats to its sovereignty. The legal basis for enslaving California's native people was effectively enshrined into law at the first session of the state legislature. So basically the moment they have a state, the moment they have a legislature, the moment they have their first meeting, they're like, we need to put in a law that you could fucking kill native people.
Hey, we're a brand new
Write down
state.
right now. Right, hurry, write down.
It's like, hey, don't you think we're a brand new state? We should come up with some sort of like governance and roads and schools, or no, let's get the genocide paperwork up and running. Let's get that going.
Yeah, we got to put that in first. They enshrined into law in the first session where officials gave white settlers the right to take custody of Native American children. You can just steal fucking children. That was in the law. The law also gave white people the right to arrest Native people for minor offenses like loitering or possessing alcohol, and made it possible for whites to put Native Americans convicted of crimes to work to pay off the fines they incurred. So, and let's be honest, if you grabbed a Native American and said, oh, I saw him loitering, who's going to question you? So basically, for all intents and purposes, you could grab any Native American you want, get them arrested. They are then slaves.
And I just saw somebody post this online today. Up until the mid 1950s, in certain states, you could buy a Native American child for $10.
But back then, it's you're exaggerating. Back then, $10 was like $15 now. So. Yeah, no, it's horrific.
Yeah.
I mean,
we could. I mean, I would just throw this in there: the murdered and missing Indigenous women. So one of what that is right now, just to show you how this has been so entrenched in this country and still active today. So there's an overwhelming number of Indigenous women that have been murdered or just missing, and there's almost no investigation of it because there's this, as I understand it, there's this loophole that tribal police on the reservations are not allowed to investigate if someone is a suspect from the reservation. So that like, we need the FBI to come in. And in some cases, like in states like North and South Dakota, there's like 2 FBI agents to cover the whole state. So there's just like this, like all these women have been murdered or missing. And there's just like, there's no one going to go search for it at all.
And one of the worst areas for this, or anywhere that there's fracking, because these, they call them man camps, will move into town where it's literally just like dozens or sometimes hundreds of men who, let's be honest, they're not the pick of the litter. These are not all the best human beings. And they go there and live there for the money to do the job. And they're running around looking for sex, and they don't mind fucking grabbing people and sometimes murdering people. And then like you said, it doesn't get investigated.
Yeah, well, they know this. I think they probably, the word's out like, oh, you won't get investigated. So and imagine if there were thousands of murdered and missing suburban white girls. Like, imagine like every cop, every precinct this would be a national issue, manhunt, like, and yet this is like, and this dates back to back to the 1850s when there was laws passed that just said these people are less than.
But the reason we cared about Elizabeth Smart was that she was just a better human being. Like that was it had nothing to do with her being white or anything. It was just, she was just like awesome.
Yeah, I know.
And so we were more upset about that than a missing Black or Native girl. So.
Yeah, for sure.
But just one other point about this is, so they put this into law. And so let's highlight here that throughout our history of the United States, a lot of laws are shit. They endorse murder. They've endorsed slavery. They basically endorse all the most horrible shit until they don't, until you're lucky enough to somehow stop that law from happening. So when we run around and go, well, it's against the law, Well, is it a good fucking law? Is it a law that was put into place because the people wanted it that way? Or was it put into place because a ruling elite wanted to have a way that they could have tax loopholes, or they could exploit you, or they could exploit resources? So, this idea that the law is holy, it's like, dude, it was legal to own humans. It was legal to kill Native Americans in many places.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, interracial marriage was like illegal in southern states up until like 10, 20 years ago. I mean, it's not to mention, like, there's a famous quote, like, everything Hitler did was legal. Hitler
right.
passed all of these laws to make it legal to round up Jews and put them in ovens. Like, he did that. Those were laws. It's a good,
Right.
like,
Not against the law. You bring him to court and he would have won in
yeah.
a trial of his peers, of other genocidal maniacs. So this was just the beginning. Peter Hardeman Burnett was the state's first governor. And I didn't actually look it up, but what do you want to bet there are statues of him in California?
Yeah, somewhere.
He saw indigenous Californians, I love this, as lazy, savage, and dangerous. Yes, lazy, because their culture doesn't require them to be wage slaves the way that ours does, makes them lazy. Yeah,
Right.
or maybe it could be that they have figured out life a lot better than we have.
Yeah. This guy wants to enjoy life.
Yeah. This guy wants to, these people want to have a community where they like just hang out and be a community together. And yeah, they're fucking lazy. They don't want to work at the dollar store. What fucking losers.
What a bunch of dicks.
Though he acknowledged that white settlers were taking their territory and bringing disease, he felt that it was the inevitable outcome of the meeting of the two races to have basically a genocide. He said, quote, that a war of extermination will continue to be waged between the races until the Indian race becomes extinct must be expected. And I love this next part. While we cannot anticipate this result, but with painful regret, the inevitable destiny of the race is beyond the power of wisdom of a man to avert. Literally, he said, we have to kill an entire peoples of humans, kill them all, because we wish we didn't, but it's just inevitable. What can you do?
These psychos, and this is such a pattern.
This is the governor.
This is the governor. It's so many of our stories, there's always like this elephant in the room of like, did you guys just try to get along? Did you ever think about like going to them and saying, hey, how can we work in concert and you guys do your thing and we'll do our thing and maybe we'll trade? Or did you think about that? No, we had no choice but to murder them because we needed money and gold. Like that insanity is still alive today. Like that's not even anywhere in the thinking. It's not written down. It's not in any of the laws of like, how do we all work together? There's none of that.
It's about destroying and eliminating. So Burnett didn't just refuse to avert such a conflict, he egged it on. He set aside state money to arm local militias against Native Americans. The state, with the help of the U.S. Army, so here again, you have the U.S. government is involved in this massacre. It's not just state, it's not just local, it's not just vigilantes, it's U.S. government assembling a massive arsenal. These weapons were then given to local militias who were tasked with killing Native people. State militias raided tribal outposts, shooting and sometimes scalping Native Americans. Soon, local settlers began to do the killing themselves because they'd been encouraged to. Hey, go and kill a few Native Americans. What's it matter?
Good for you.
Local governments put bounties on Native American heads and paid settlers for stealing the horses of the people they murdered.
Oh.
It was legal and encouraged in 1850. We're talking like 170 years ago, legal and encouraged to murder humans.
And take their horses, which was like
and steal their horses. Yeah,
which was probably the second biggest piece of property anything asset anyone could own back in the 1800s, like land and then horses.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still going to call murder the greater of the two crimes.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm still gonna put that on the top.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I'm not trying to I don't know, is murder is that big of a
Listen, but if you have to murder someone, murder them. But stealing their horse, that's just
just rude.
It's just rude. Yeah, let's have some gentlemen, some chivalry when we murder someone.
Can we murder in the most gentlemanly fashion possible?
This is from historian Benjamin Madley. He wrote, by demonstrating that the state would not punish Indian killers, but instead reward them, militia expeditions helped inspire vigilantes to kill at least 6,460 Californian Indians between 1846 and 1873. I don't know if I call them vigilante means like going against the government, doesn't it? Like, I don't know if you're a vigilante if the government's paying you to do the shit. That's a mercenary.
Yeah. My show, The Political Vigilante, believe me, I'm getting no money from the government to do anything.
But how many people have you killed and stolen their horse, though?
Oh, so many. I mean, I do that just for fun. I mean, I was doing that for free. It's a Patreon tier.
But you do it with your fists, which are weapons.
Yes, and my katana, my samurai sword,
and your nunchucks that you have under your pillow. It's been a while since we brought up those,
which are very close to my bed
and very close to your heart. Does each half of the nunchucks have a different name? It's like Carl and Steve or something.
Yeah, truth and justice.
Okay, so
it's Steve Truth and Carl Justice is their names.
Yeah, that was the last names, Truth and Justice. I mean, that would be weird first names. So it's, Carl Truth, Steve Justice. The U.S. Army also joined in the killing, Madley notes, killing at least 1,600 native Californians. Large massacres wiped out entire tribal populations. In 1850, for example, around 400 Pomo people, including women and children, were slaughtered by the U.S. cavalry and local volunteers north of San Francisco. Meanwhile, white settlers in the California government enslaved native people and forced them to labor for ranchers through at least the mid-1860s. Native Americans were then forced onto reservations and their children forced to attend Indian assimilation schools, which we have talked about and covered before. We did a segment on those. And these are not, it's a euphemism to call them assimilation schools. They destroyed these kids, like, internally. They ruined their culture. They ruined their understanding of themselves. But then on top of that, many of them were killed. And I'm not quite clear on how exactly they were killing them, but there are mass graves in Canada and the US.
And how many, like, probably untold, just unmarked mass graves that, they just like dug a hole and, like, who knows, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Very rarely when someone's killing like loads of people do they put a nice signage up.
Yeah, make a plaque. I hope that doesn't happen.
Really, there should be a large scale campaign. If you're gonna kill a lot of people, put up a sign.
Yeah,
put up a sign. Okay. Because it's the only again, chivalry in mass murder.
Yeah.
An estimated 100,000 Native Americans died during the first 2 years of the gold rush. By 1873, only 30,000 indigenous people remained of the 150,000. According to Madley, the state spent a total of about $1.7 million, a staggering sum in its day, to murder up to 16,000 people. So the state is encouraging, making legal, and actually at times funding the mass murder of Native Americans. Today, despite all odds, California has the United States' largest Native American population and is home to 109 federally recognized tribes. but the state's treatment of Native peoples during its founding days, and let's be honest, the treatment of the Native peoples today as well, is really, really not good. And the treatment of in the 1850s that we've just covered is little known today. Not most people are not taught it in school. I don't know why. California also apologized for the genocide it carried out in 2019. Graham, see? So progress.
Yeah, they said we're sorry, and you can have casinos.
Yeah, I mean, I think all they were looking for is an apology. I think that was said again and again. It was like, look, murder all of us you want. Just please say you're sorry. And
Yeah.
leave a plaque. Leave a plaque.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's they basically murdered 80% of California's Native Americans.
All right. Well, as a resident of the state of California, thank you so much for
Are you going to apologize, Graham?
for being a resident of California. Sure, I'll apologize for that. I'm sorry.
I'm holding you personally responsible for this.
Yes,
genocide.
I was not alive then.
Yeah, no, just to sum up, I think it's not, yes, we talk about the genocide of Native Americans. We don't talk about it as something that like was put into law, was codified in law in the United States. They, in many places, they paid for the massacring of Native Americans. And I think part of the reason the United States behaves the way it does now as an empire, willing to kill, the estimates are just 6 million in just the war on terror. That doesn't include a lot of it. Just the past 20 years, 6 million people murdered by the U.S. The reason the U.S. empire is willing to behave this way, part of it is we have a long history of like the people, we are the descendants of those who were willing to murder a lot of people to have their land and have their way of life.
And again, what this show is about is you going into detail how it was government sanctioned. It was in law. The governor said it of California. It was in the newspaper. And we're sort of taught it like, well, we came here and everyone was kind of fighting it out for the land. And, like it was just a bunch of pioneers and they were attacked and they just had to fight back. And a lot of people died, both sides.
And it was all disease. It was like, unfortunately, and yes, disease did kill a lot. It did, but also also murder. And of course, the disease as well, some of it was done knowingly. But we're taught it. I mean, in school, when I was taught about it, it was taught about as like, oh, a bad thing happened, but it was like, but there were battles between the U.S. government and the Native Americans who were fighting over the land. Like it was just kind of standard, like the U.S. fighting Britain, for independence or something. It's like, no, it was a people living here, and then we genocided them.
Yeah. Yeah, and even they'll make the argument, well, the Native American tribes were fighting with each other before we got here. Yeah, they did that. They fought each other and they took land from each other, but they didn't it wasn't systemic. They fought, won a battle, said, now this is our land. They didn't do systemic genocide.
It wasn't systemic genocide. It was very different. And it's just very different. And it generally was never trying to, they might've fought over land or something else, but it was never like, we need to wipe out all of those humans.
Right.
That was not really going on.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for that, Lee Camp. Now let's do segment number 2. Lee, you know how much of a fan I am of the United States military mishandling nukes.
Are just, intelligent, sophisticated handling of nuclear weapons.
So, Lee, where were you? What were you doing like late August 2007? Do you remember?
I wasn't anywhere near that nuke.
No, not. You're not on trial. I just want to illustrate, like, where were you in your life when the Air Force could have wiped out all of life in America and the world?
Which time?
August 29th, 2007.
2007. Where was I? I was in New York City and touring college, telling fart jokes to college kids.
Oh, great. Well, right around that time, while you were telling fart jokes to college kids, 6 AGM 129 ACM cruise missiles, each loaded with a W80-1 variable yield nuclear warhead, were mistakenly loaded onto a United States Air Force B-52 heavy bomber at Minot Air Force Base in North Dakota and transported to Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana.
How does one mistakenly load a nuke onto a plane? Was it like in the wrong carry-on bag?
Well, look, I mean, you box everything up and you don't know. I mean, are these like, Air Force stuffed, like stuffed animal, like airplanes, you know what I mean, that we're going to give to kids? The
Right,
box is so same. It's the
right.
same.
Well, they have a careful system with regular bombs. They write "boom" on the outside, and with nuclear bombs, they write "boom, boom."
Yeah. I mean, look, Lee, we've all gone to the store and wanted to get skim milk and we grabbed 2% by mistake because we weren't looking. You know what I mean? We've all done that. So this just,
Ironically, 2% would have been the remaining human population.
yeah, after, after this. So, um, they were transported from North Dakota to Louisiana. So maybe you were at one of these colleges when this flew over your head.
Very well might have been.
The nuclear warheads and the missiles were supposed to have been removed before the missiles were taken from their storage bunker. Now we've had this fun story before where it's like when we're going to transport these nukes, there's all these safety protocols in place so that if the plane crashes or something, they're not dangerous. Well,
Right,
we
right.
forgot to do that in August 29th, 2007.
Hey, Milo, did you take the core out of the nukes before we put them on the plane there? I thought you were gonna do it.
Dude, you said you told me to go to Whataburger, and I did, and you
No,
said you were going to do it.
no, I was gonna go to Whataburger. Remember, that's why we ended up with 2 orders of Whataburger.
Oh, so we were both supposed to. Oh man, well, the Whataburger was really good.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice that we had 2 orders of that. I really was just happy we got 2 orders.
I mean, Whataburger is pretty awesome. That time we had Whataburger and almost murdered America. Thank you, Wendy. Sunan Mills, absolutely love you both and your dedication to the truth and healthy dose of
The LOLs, the lulls.
the lulls. All right, thank you. I was trying to French the word up and I really didn't do it right. So this thing that you would think would have been really important didn't happen. The warheads and the missiles were supposed to have been removed before the missiles were taken from their storage bunker. The missiles with nuclear warheads were not reported missing and remained mounted to the aircraft at both Minot and Barksdale for 36 hours.
So they kept flying them around.
Yes. And during this period,
I would love to know what those phone calls were like. Listen, did you guys see like a nuke on a plane? No, just listen. Just listen. Did you? Okay, it would have come in like noon yesterday. It looks like big and like the tip is pointy, and it says "We'll kill everybody on Earth" on the side.
It says apocalypse on it. It says apocalypse on the side.
Yeah.
God, I think during this 36-hour period, the warheads were not protected by the various mandatory security precautions for nuclear weapons. So again, it wasn't like one mistake. It's like a bunch of them. There's a reason we have all like a series of checks and balances and safeguards in place so that we don't make a mistake with a nuclear warhead.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be an appropriate ending, don't you think, to the American experiment?
Oh yeah,
For us to nuke ourselves.
just a whoops, like dude, where's my nuke? Just a complete
Just just like the Ashton Kutcher film, "Dude, Where's My Nuke?" Yeah.
um The incident was reported at the top levels of the United States military and referred to by observers as another, you know these, a bent spear incident. Um, which is not as bad as Broken Arrow. We've covered some Broken Arrow. Broken Arrow is a lost nuke. A nuke goes down. There's a crashed nuke aircraft or submarine, and then that's called a Broken Arrow. Bent spear is
I might have said this before, but these are also the medical terms for various levels of erectile dysfunction.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, bent spear just means you've been jerking it too hard with one hand. You got to switch up.
That it does. That it
Yeah.
does. And if you keep it up, the doctor will say, "Listen, if you keep it up this way, you could end up with a broken arrow."
Yeah, and we don't want that. So switch the grip. In response to the incident, the United States Department of Defense and the United States Air Force conducted an investigation, the results of which were released October 19th, 2007.
And they
And
want the
when they were
apology from
released,
Whataburger.
yeah, and I don't remember like all of the media outlets talking about this when it was released in October of
Yeah, I
2007.
don't remember like 24/7 situation room
Mm,
CNN coverage.
yeah, I don't either. Um, the investigation concluded that nuclear weapons handling standards and procedures had not been followed. Oh, you think? You think so?
Let me guess. This report came out months later. They go, after careful analysis with 1,000 inspectors, we've discovered we didn't follow the protocol.
Oh man. Wow. Glad our tax dollars came to that brilliant conclusion. The as a result, 4 USAF commanders were relieved of their commands. Numerous other Air Force personnel were disciplined or decertified to perform certain types of sensitive duties. And further cruise missile transportation missions from nuclear weapons operations at Minot Air Force were suspended. In addition, the U.S. the Air Force and issued new nuclear weapons handling instructions and procedures that some Yahoo 19-year-old is not going to follow somewhere down the road. Like, that's yeah, I have
That's the thing is if you wait till it happens and then you go, well, we're gonna fire that guy now, it kind of doesn't really solve the problem. You know, that guy who flew nukes over the country and didn't even know they were on board, he is gonna be demoted. He
yeah.
is stuck in the printer room from here on out.
Um Separate investigations by the Defense Science Board and a Air Force Blue Ribbon panel reported that concerns existed on the procedures and processes for handling nuclear weapons within the Department of Defense, but did not find any failures with the security of the United States nuclear weapons. Based on
Didn't find any failures with the security? They didn't even know where they are. How can they be secure if they don't know where they are?
so
Listen, we don't know where they are, but we've got them under lock and key.
I feel very confident that even though we don't know where they are, they're very safe. Like,
I have said that when people have asked me to look after their kids. I was like, look, I don't know where he is, but he is safe. Okay. I can tell you that right now. I'm
absolutely.
not gonna let anything happen to him. But I can't tell you right now where he is or what he's up to.
Or who he's with,
Or
but
who
I
he's
know
with,
he's safe.
but very safe.
Yeah. So part of what this concluded was as typical as what usually happens in these cases. Before this event happened, someone was like, there's some things that aren't. This could happen. Like someone was like, this is bad. This is bad. This could happen, and nobody did anything about it. On June 5th, 2008, Secretary of the Air Force Michael Wayne and Chief of Staff of the Air Force Michael Mosley were asked for the resignations, which they gave. In October of 2008, in response to recommendations by a review committee, the U.S. Air Force announced the creation of the Air Force Global Strike Command to control all nuclear bombers, missiles, and panels. Oh boy, I'm sure. Yeah, so this is this to give you the specifics of it. When this happened, a group of airmen called the Breakout Crew entered one of the weapons into storage bunkers at Minot to prepare the AGM-129 missiles for Barksdale. That day's missile transport, the 6 of 12 planned ferry missions, was to have consisted of 12 AGM-129s installed and training warheads with 6 missiles. When the airmen entered the bunkers, 6 live warheads were still installed on their missiles, as opposed to having been replaced with dummy training warheads. A later investigation found that the reason for the error was that the electronic production system for tracking the missiles had been subverted in favor of an informal process that did not identify the pylon as prepared for the flight.
What do you want to bet their tracking system is like one of those like Apple dots or whatever that you just you stick on your phone, so on your keys so you don't lose them. They just stuck one of those on one of the nukes.
The Air Force has instituted and now a surprise inspections at nuclear armed bases.
They have said from here on out, the moment we realize we're missing a nuke, we will ask someone to call it.
The other thing they're implementing,
we'll just listen for the ring.
Well, so they have that, and they have the backup plan too. Is they're just putting a bell around the neck of all the nukes, so it's like
that'll do it. That'll do it. Because you'll hear the bell.
Yeah,
totally,
like a cat.
Right before the moment before half of the United States is obliterated, you hear to bring.
Oh, I think that's the nuclear clack flash dust. I'm just turned into sand. Like,
isn't that the bells we put around the?
We have the dumbest government and dumbest military that is every day taking all of our lives at putting them at risk. Every single day.
Yeah.
So that's what everyone think back to August, late August in 2007, where you were at in your life, and just know that it could have ended. It could have, whatever was going on could have just like ding. Yep.
The nice thing is you wouldn't have known it. Well, except for all the people a little outside the blast zone who die of cancer in the following weeks. So that
even I was still in California in 2007. So that would have happened, let's say, in the middle of the country. Weeks later, there would have been just a nuclear winter, and within months and years, there would be no sunlight or food, and we would have all eaten each other. So that's probably where I would have been in 2008. So
I think you have to fire 3 to have the nuclear winter.
Oh,
yeah, I don't think 2 will do it.
But if all 6 would have gone up in smoke, then
but you will have lost Louisiana. You would have lost Louisiana, and that's where all the good music and food is. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would have avoided losing my home to foreclosure, so that would have been an upside.
You think that would have saved it? If a nuke had gone off in the middle of the country?
I'd just be dead, and everything, but the real estate wouldn't have been of issue at that point. We all just would have been.
That's true.
Yeah. So,
there would have been a whole lot of available real estate in the middle of the country.
To this day, very, very low priced. Years later,
low priced. Bring your own Geiger counter.
So that's government secrets.
BYOGC. I love those parties.
Oh, I always travel with a Geiger counter. We all should, now that we know how good the military is at keeping us safe.
Dude, I just covered on my live stream what they're calling like America's Chernobyl, which is a bit of exaggeration, but it's a area in West Virginia with a radioactive pond from company waste. The company left a while ago, the corporation, and it's like completely radioactive, like Geiger counter going nuts. And it's where high school kids like go up there and like fucking stuff. It's like where people have parties, like in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia.
Sweet. Sounds like a road trip.
Yeah. Sounds like a good time.
So, Lee Camp, where can people watch and see you? So, just so we're clear, guys, I'm going to go watch the Republican debate. Lee is going to gouge out his eyeballs, and there will be no Patreon live bonus segment, but you can still sign up for Patreon, and there's like over 40 bonus segments that you immediately get unlocked and access to when you sign up for the Patreon.
Right. So if you wanted to go watch hours more of us, which I don't know why you would ever do that, but if you wanted to, you could go or just start working your way back. Do one a week, like a little pick me up once a week. Watch one of the Patreon extras. Over 40 are at patreon.com/government secrets. But yeah, my stuff. I have another new Zoom comedy show that anyone can attend for $5. That's October 14th and 18th. LeeCamp.simpletix.com. That's TIX for ticks. LeeCamp.simpletix.com. And also, I just think everyone needs to remember that I'm the campaign manager for a Yard Rock that is running for president. It will not be in the Republican debate today. But all of its stances are much better than any of the Republicans that you'll see.
Great. I support you so much, Lee Camp.
And that's at yardrock2024.com.
Sweet. Go to grahamelwood.com, sign up for my newsletter. I will be doing a comedy show, Bitcoin Hollywood Comedy Show, at the Adopting Bitcoin Conference in El Salvador. The conference is November 7th through the 9th. And the comedy show is on the night of the 8th, and you can get a discount ticket, save 21% off of your conference pass for all 3 days using coupon code Elwood21. So go to grahamelwood.com for that. And that has been Government Secrets episode 136, California Dreaming and Lost Nukes.
All right, man. I appreciate it, and good luck surviving this Republican debate.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. It's going to be so fantastic. I'm going to microwave up a vegan meal, and I'm going to watch this train wreck.
You will be the only one eating a vegan meal while watching this debate.
And folks, please tune in to my YouTube channel immediately following the debate. Myself and Ron Placone will be breaking down the clown car train wreck that we just watched. So tune in another 2 hours to the post-Republican debate with Graham Elwood and Ron Placone.
Later, man.
Thanks. Take care, everybody.